Ah, well, thank you.
No.
And I'm terribly sorry for your loss.
Thank you, but you know what? I'm glad you're alive. Right? I'm glad you're alive. Oh, yeah. But I want to make sure you get the help that you need.
Thank you.
I noticed in Washington when we were there with the Gold Star Mothers for Peace and the MFSO, whose babies have not come home, whose husbands have not come home, I noticed them touching Tomas, kissing him, hugging him, wanting to be near him. And I think there was a connection there because he came home and their family members didn't.
That's the saddest. I still have trouble with that one. These people are experiencing a moment of vicarious closeness to their loved ones who didn't, the loved one who did not come home. Tomas did. And they can't keep their eyes off him, and they can't, and they want to touch him. I mean, you know, and the nation goes on here. I mean, I don't see a whole lot of outrage or concern. The mortgage crisis has taken us over, and very serious to be sure, real serious. But I mean, you know, the war is not even at the top of our list of concerns now.
Why has or have the media backed off the story since the casualty rate went way down, the weekly deaths? It's averaging something like a death a day, and it used to be 3 times a day.
Right. By the way, civilians were killed just recently by a drone, an American drone. I mean, civilians, because of this high-tech. I'm not sure. You know, I know that I had a very unhappy life at MSNBC. Being against the war is not good for business.
How long were you there, by the way? And you, I know this has been talked about before, but did they?
I was there for like, I'm going to guess, I think around 3 months.
Only 3 months?
Maybe 4.
Nightly show?
Uh-huh. And
what time was it, 8 o'clock?
Uh-huh. And I was gone before the rollout, before the invasion. The invasion was March of '03, and my show was canceled before that.
What's the connection between your anti-war stance and being gone?
Well, we have a memo that was leaked to the New York Times. The New York Times published the memo, which it was a consulting firm's memo to NBC News, which essentially said that Donahue's anti-war stance is really not going to be very, it's not going to work against the flag waving on the other stations. It's important to remember, and by the way, every major metropolitan newspaper in this country supported this war.
Times? New York Times?
The Times, of course. New York Times, the Globe, Boston Globe, pick a paper. Washington Post, LA Times, Chicago, go, 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 war. What happened to the First Amendment and the cacophony of voices that we're supposed to have? You know, and we're the ones being told that we're not patriotic. We love America more than they do. We believe in the First Amendment. We believe we believe a woman's home is her castle. You shouldn't be unreasonably searching and seizing. And that's what, people in cages, 5 years, no phone calls, no, I mean, this is not the America that my parents raised me to pledge my allegiance to.
I can't do this very well because it's not our role, but if I'm sitting here and I was for this war, I would say to you things like, this president has been very strong. He has never backed down. This is a worldwide war against terrorism. War is hell, and you lose people, and people are wounded. What makes you, Phil Donahue, think you have the answer to this? A lot, you know. Congress goes along with an expenditure of $12 to $14 billion a month. There must be something right going on. Why are you so pure in this thing?
Well, what is right? What right is going on? R-I-G-H-T. Tell me, what is the good effect of this war?
Well, they would tell you that fight them over there, or you're going to fight them here.
We are fighting over there now because old men in Washington want to save face. The life of a young American, not one American's life, is worth an old man's face. This is a massive blunder that is going to rattle around this century for the rest of for the rest of the lives of all of us living.
When did you start being against?
And by the way, you know, righteous. Why am I righteous? That's a very good point. There's a lot of righteousness on either side. You know, I read Richard Cohen, for example, in the op-ed Washington Post. He instructs me. I think he's a very good writer, and he's clever, and he's interesting. But no less a pundit than Richard Cohen, in '06, called the anti-war people silly, and commented upon how they seem to be so obsessed with the rottenness of America. Anti-war protesters focused on the rottenness of America. That's how they felt. I oppose the war, therefore I think America is rotten. This is what they have done to marginalize the so-called anti-war dissenting voice. I mean, we have people in this country who literally think it's unpatriotic to oppose a war. If a president calls a war, you've got to, you know, that's not true. That's the reason the framers were right. I mean, the more I think about it, the more visionary they become.
This next clip, I warn the audience, is a tough one to watch. It's very personal, and it's rougher than the erectile dysfunction clip. And you know where I'm going with this.
No, which one? Is it the
changing of the catheter?
Oh.
Now,
well,
let's show it. And this is his mother.
This is his mother. This is just one of the challenges that besets a person who has been paralyzed.
Before we watch this, does he not care that all this is shown?
Thomas wants other draft age men and women to see this. Thomas did something very impetuous. He acknowledges that. He signed up. And he is telling, through this movie, he is telling every draft age American or enlisted age American to think, to take a look at this before you follow a commander-in-chief into war.
By the way, how long did a camera crew follow him around? Was it a camera crew or was it just one person?
It was one person. It was Ellen Spiro.
Shooting with a small camera?
Uh-huh. She does it without knocking over furniture. She certainly became very much a part of this family for a while. You know, here we were parachuting into their living room in Kansas City. How long?
How long is she around them?
Well, we've been making the documentary for 3 years.
I mean, is she still shooting, Thomas?
Well, no, the film is done. You know, thank goodness. It's finally we've concluded the film and it's ready for theatrical release.
And how did you find Ellen Spiro? I think I read somewhere somebody on a plane.
I met a woman by the name of Dee Dee Halleck on an airplane coming home from a media reform conference, which, by the way, we should see more of on C-SPAN. Media Reform is a grassroots organization headed by Robert McChesney, a professor at the University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana. Their banner is corporate media is ruining our democracy. We need no more evidence of the fact they may be right in that every newspaper in this country supported the war. I mean, what is wrong? I mean, imagine every paper. This is unbelievable. And these young people are saying, you know, whether you get on the air depends on whether you can afford it. We seldom see, you know, there are some exceptions, but we don't see people from the Iraq Veterans Against the War on television. We don't see military families speak out. Peace Now, Jews, how often do they get on television? You know, the progressive voice is silenced in this country. There's no other way to put it. We just don't like them. They're scolds. They're complaining all the time. They don't see anything good about America. This is what Richard Cohen is essentially saying. We don't see anything. In other words, if you dissent, you don't love America. And somehow, after $1 billion of expense on this and beating the drum about this, the liberal has become the political idea that dare not speak its name.